Greetings and salutations, everyone. This is an upload I had no intent on creating. I was going to share some information in a day or two about meeting up with a New York State trooper and talking about the Tom Mezek case and some stuff that he had seen while he was up there. But a friend reached out to me and just 20-30 minutes ago and said, hey, there's something strange going on YouTube on this channel, and check it out and let me know what you think. I looked at it and I have a few ideas, but let's get into the links first and then get into the upload. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below, my merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe, click the like button, and please leave a comment. It really does help, and guys, it definitely matters. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get into this disturbing news, shall we? Well, we all know that the alphabet agencies monitor our phone calls, emails, and this and that. But do they have the power? Well, that's a silly question. Have they been affecting YouTube channels that have captured some information and things that could hurt them or prove the existence of them, of these creatures that we discuss here? And is this just a foreshadowing for what's to come for other channels like myself and others? So let's get into it. All right, guys, I was actually going to save today's information that I got for a couple days from now, but I was talking to a friend, and they know that I don't watch other YouTube channels that pertain to cryptids, but I'm aware of all of them. I know all of them, who they are, what they do, yada yada. I just don't know their videos and what they talk about because I don't care. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying I've got my own stuff. But there's one channel that has a different kind of flair to it, I guess. NVTV. And my buddy was like, hey, you know the people that run that channel? And I'm like, no, why? And he's like, well, he goes, their channel is down, but it's weird. He goes, they used to have a ton of videos, and now they have like 4. You can't comment in their comment section. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, I don't know. He goes, I went to their Instagram. He goes, something's up with them, with that. I'm like, okay. So I go over and I look. And I remember when I did the upload, the original upload of the TikTok person who died after filming that very strange giant military stuff going on in British Columbia. And I remember someone sending me an email because they didn't catch the video that I had done saying, hey, this on NVTV. And I'm like, hey, I already did this. And I looked at their stuff and I was like, wow, they got a lot of videos. And a lot of it was Bigfoot and stuff like that. And So my buddy tells me, hey, go and check it out, please, and tell me what you think. So I went over and I looked and I was like, wow, they got 4 videos. They've got 128,000 subscribers. I knew they had a lot more than that. And their views are, their main views for those 4 videos are down. It's almost like they shut their channel down and restarted it. Or, and I don't know, or they were shut down and some entity, some alphabet agency restarted their channel because there's some talking in it. I don't know if there was talking before. I know that Claudia Ackley's video that she was part of was on there, and I watched it on that channel just so I could see it. But it's really weird because I went to look at the comment section to see. And there's views, you know, they've got views, but there's like just a pinned comment from them. And I'm like, how weird is that? I'm like, I wonder if maybe they caught a video that, because they're not doing the filming. Like, maybe they film a couple, but a lot of it is, you know, done through research, looking through TikTok, Reddits, and stuff like that. Same thing that I do when I find cool videos. And so I'm like, maybe they hit on something big, and because it just doesn't seem right. Like, okay, I've seen larger channels like delete videos, but their main, now when I say main, you have to be a YouTuber or you have to know what I'm talking about. So the analytics will tell you what your total view count of your channel's history is. And I believe theirs was well into the, I'm at 15 million views for my channel's life, almost 16. They were way past that, like 100 million. Now it's like 200,000. And I knew they were part of 2 other smaller channels. And I went and looked at them, and I'm like, wow, the same thing. Now, I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just saying it's very strange, and I hope they're okay. I don't know if any of you guys have noticed this, but to me it seems weird. Anything that sparks suspicion and is strange in the crypto world or paranormal world, conspiracy world, is almost an indicator that something really went bad for them. I'm not saying it did, all right? I'm just saying I made an observation. I'm sharing it with you guys. I don't know, because I don't watch other channels. I just think it's weird. And I know, even though I don't know the channels, I know how the analytics works, and none of the numbers are right. So it's almost like they deleted their whole channel and either restarted and didn't leave comment section open, or just something shut them down. Some agency shut them down and restarted it, and is now going to put, because the videos they had on it are not, they're subpar compared to what their videos used to be. And if I'm wrong, I'm not insulting. Please don't think NVTV if you're, you know, if it's the real, those 4 videos are good, but they're just not what they used to be. And to be a juggernaut of a channel like they were makes no sense of why they would delete their channel unless something forced them to, which is strange, scary, and I hope they're okay. I will be praying for them and their channel, and hopefully they are okay and their safety. But I don't know if you guys know something, you know, leave it in the comment section, and I don't know. Anyway, I said in the video that I posted on the third video that I went and I visited with a state trooper today who was part of the Tom Mesvik case. Now, I had reached out to a lot of people when I did the 7-year anniversary. And I had reached out to a few people that were up north in like the state troopers substations. And I got a call today at around 1:30 from someone that a retired Forest Service ranger that actually they're stationed out of where my old Boy Scout camp used to be when I'd go, for my week-long trips and stuff. He said, "Hey, I remember talking with you. I've saved your number. I appreciate what you're doing by looking into this," because he's weirded out about it too. He's in his 60s and super nice guy. Well, he's like, "I know I was talking to a friend of mine who's in the state police and he was up there." And so I go and I start talking to him and he's like, he checked out my channel, checked out the upload that I did on Tom, and the couple of times that I've been up there. I showed him that one video where I felt like I was kind of in like a trap almost. I might not have been, I'm not saying I was, but I had a really bad feeling. And he said, I got some interesting information. He didn't say information. He said, "I know something that happened while I was up there. Don't use who I am, and I'm not recording this," because I said, "Can I record you, please?" And he said, "No." And I said, "All right, well, what's up?" And he said, I asked him about the FBI, and he said, "I don't know." He said, "We, as the state police and the sheriff that were involved," he said, "we were all kind of put off by that. It was really strange how everything went down." And like I said, he wasn't a tender-aged youth, obviously, and, there was no state lines crossed. He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "We did talk amongst ourselves about it." He said, and strangely enough, none of the agents spoke to them. So they had blocked off this 5 square mile section of the woods where Tom disappeared. Now, Lily Pond Road is a small fire road access that goes up into the woods, and then there's Lily Pond Trail at the end of that, and it kind of circles around the pond and goes out into the woods. He's on the fringe, him and 4 other people, 2 correctional officers, because they were busing correctional officers down from correctional officers that were off duty that volunteered to help. We have like 4 large correction centers up north, and so they bust a lot of them down. Well, he was with 2 and a state trooper that he knew, and they were on the fringe of this area. And he said we were walking and we had our radios on, but the volume was turned down, and just so we could, if we heard him or, him calling for help. And he said we heard this weird kind of like, it was a call. And I was like, "What do you mean, like a call?" He goes, "Almost like it sounded like a bird call, but deeper." And I was like, "Okay, so, what happened that, like, you heard this call?" He said, "So we followed it." He said, because one of the correctional officers was like, "Hey, what if that's Tom, unable to talk? Maybe he's got one of his hunting calls on him, and And he said what we saw was the strangest animal. He said animal, but then he stopped and he was like, I don't know. He said it was about 4 to 5 feet, and it had the ass end of, he said what it looked like an anorexic, because you know how bears are big. He said this was big, but it wasn't, it had no tail, and it, where they were, it hauled ass up one of these mountain peaks. Or I brought you up there. You guys have, those of you who have been with me and seen this area, there's just places that go straight up, and there's a lot of underbrush and a lot of rocks. And he said whatever this thing was not hindered by the angle of the ground or any of the debris, any of the rock, the logs, anything. And he said it was so quick, Jeff. He said we heard the call. The correctional officer, let's check it out. They walked maybe 100, 200 feet into more dense woods, kind of not where I was, but I've been in that area. And those of you who have watched all the videos when I go up there, you'll kind of see or kind of know what I'm talking about. When I'm like here and I look this way and it's just mountain, and down here is just a valley, right? Not even a valley. It levels off. It went up into the woods. It didn't turn and look at them. It didn't do anything. It just gone. And it didn't jump. It didn't do anything other than run very rapidly. It was quadruped. At first they were like, what the hell is that? That's the strangest looking bear. And he said, I don't know what it was. And I said, there was no tail. He said, no. I said, did you see a muzzle? And he said, no, we didn't see the front end. But he said the sound that it made that brought them into the woods was like a bird, like a bird call, but deeper. It was a very strange call. And I was like, well, you know, I said one that a bear, a dog, a wolf. And he's like, I've never heard anything like this. He goes, I've been hunting my entire life. He lives closer to the Vermont border, which is up there. It's a lot more dense woods where he lives. He goes, I never heard anything like it. He goes, it was strange. He said, I know when we saw it and it ran, he said, all of us looked at each other and said, let's get the hell out of here now. And they didn't say a word to anyone else because first, they didn't know what they saw. And second, they didn't want to seem like they were crazy. So that was just some really interesting information that he shared with me. He marked out where it was for me on a map. And I've not been that far back yet. But I've probably been, if where this was and where I've gone would be probably halfway to where, so they were deep in. I've probably covered maybe a quarter square mile of that 5 mile radius that they've done myself. So there's a lot left that I haven't touched. But yeah, that was weird. And he doesn't know. They didn't even want to, the two correctional guys, he didn't know them well. They just were paired off with him and his buddy. They didn't even want to talk about it. They got back to base camp, which would be the Horicon Fire Department, and they were waiting on the bus to leave their day was done. They were like, we're done. We don't want to go back out there. They didn't volunteer anymore. Him and his buddy talked about it, and they kicked around the idea of a Bigfoot. He had never heard of a Dogman. So yeah, some weird sighting right there. And Bigfoot has been spotted around that area. I asked him about the metallic sound, and I shared like my idea about, bunkers. And he said, I'd never heard about the sound. He said, but if there was that kind of sound, he goes, that's a very good idea in theory. He goes, because there was in Scroon Lake, a old military installation in there in the woods, deep in the woods. I've talked about it. And he said, yeah, I never really heard anything about that, but that makes a lot of sense. And I was like, wow, thanks, man. It was nice meeting you. I had to buy him some coffee, but it was cool. I mean, it was a 35-minute drive up, 35-minute back, and I spent probably 40 minutes with him. So, yeah, it was cool. But it left me wanting more. I actually was like, dude, I wish it wasn't cold, and I wish it wasn't dark, because I would go up there right now. But anyway, so if you guys know anything about that or the NVTV, check it out, because it's weird. It's just, they were a juggernaut of a channel, and to delete, they didn't just delete their videos, they deleted their whole channel because their whole analytics changed. So who knows? Anyway, stay safe, and thank you for all your support. May the Great Spirit watch out for all of us, and may He guide us down that path that we call life.